You boys ready for a long one?
Sure.
Let's do it. Welcome back to Game Debate, where every Wednesday, one member of the panel pulls a crazy topic right out of their ass, and we all just smear shit all over it. Up at the top, we have Will Johnson. We got Lee Fouts and Mr. Nate Merritt. Hashtag, he actually says FIFA's not that bad. After a few tweets he received, he's changed his mind. This week, my topic, bitches, and I like going big because I can't do it anywhere else. We're doing your favorite Nintendo handheld console ever made. We are not counting the Virtual Boy, and we are not counting the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And I want to give some real quick breakdown of how this is going to go down. The Game Boy, Pocket, and Color are all the same console.
These are the same games. Yeah. Same
The
Game
Game Boy Advance, SP, and Micro are all Game Boy Advance consoles.
Right.
The DS and DS Lite and DSi and all that stupid shit, they're
They're separate from the 3DS. They're separate.
And then 3DS and 2DS are all its own thing.
Yeah.
And the way I want to go do this is real simple. I'm going to bring up consoles in chronological release order with date. We'll all discuss our opinions of said console, and we'll keep bouncing. Once it's all said and done, each member of the panel will select their favorite Nintendo handheld ever made.
Awesome, Nick. That's a good
In
idea.
1989, the world changed when the Game Boy was released. Sony Walkman, eat shit. Game Boy rules the fucking world.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, baby.
Nate, you want to kick off the Game Boy? I know you're OG Nintendo guy, and boys don't hold back. You got games you love. Let's hear about it.
I could honestly cry. I'm not kidding. I could get teary eyed talking about this, and I just might because.
Is it because FIFA never released on it?
Yeah, because they never had a FIFA game for the Game Boy.
Go deep, Nate.
It's emotional for me because a couple of reasons. I'm kind of getting choked up already, but it's the one I spent the most time playing with my family.
Yes, sir.
And it meant a lot. I mean, at the time, especially when you only have one TV and one console, things like that. If you're like mom and dad's watching the TV,
Right.
Play it whenever
they
you
can't play a
want it.
console, but yeah, I can play it whatever I wanted. And my dad and I have never been super close
Mm-hmm.
as far as like he's always helped me and all this, but like I was always really close with my mom, and it's still like that to this day.
Yeah.
But I'd play my Game Boy and sit next to him every night.
Yeah.
And that was real special to me. So
That's awesome.
Well,
Did
that's
you have the
incredible,
OG
man.
brick?
I got two. I actually have two of them. Yeah, but
That's awesome.
Do you have your original?
yeah, I have my original. Yeah,
Do you have the box?
yeah, I have everything.
I think the OG Game Boy box is so cool. The marketing on the cover, that 80s graphic look to it.
Yeah,
Yes.
but the Game Boy's also. I mean, I spent a lot of time on it. It's got two of my favorite games of all time on there, and that's Zelda: Link's Awakening, which is just about to come out.
Yes,
Cannot wait for that.
sir.
So
And
close, man.
the other game is Final Fantasy Adventure, which is of course the first in the Secret of Mana line, I guess. That game, I spent probably more time on that game on a single run than any other game, because pre-internet, had no idea. There's a puzzle in that game that all they give you is for a hint is it's near an oasis, something about an oasis and a figure 8. And I was weeks trying to figure that out. And I put so many hours into that one little segment of that game that my character was pumped almost to the max. And this was nowhere near the end of the game. Because I kept going traversing the map trying to figure out what the heck to do to get to the next place, and killing enemies as I went through. Well, it turns out the puzzle was there was two trees, palm trees. There were two palm trees. They were one space apart, just far enough for you to walk in between them. I just randomly walked in a figure 8 between those trees, and boom, the oasis drained and a dungeon appeared, and I had no idea how it happened. When it happened. I was like,
It just happened. Yeah.
Man, I read that puzzle completely wrong. When I thought figure 8, I thought a woman, probably the Pog variety, media both ways. I thought the oasis was probably around her thigh area. I was clearly wrong. Just like Nate, I spent a long time before I figured that out. I was 19. Okay.
And one quick funny story. When I was a kid, I used to get really, really mad at games, and I would, for some, I don't know why, but when I got mad as a kid, I would take something and I would hit it across the top of my head.
Oh, no.
I don't know why.
Game Boy.
I broke several Super Nintendo controllers doing that, and of course I broke my Game Boy doing that. And
no.
this was at a time when nobody could repair them. You had to
Right.
send it into Nintendo, and I didn't know. I didn't think my mom would do it, but she did it. Matter of fact, we couldn't even send it in. We had to drive to Toledo, Ohio.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
So we drove to Toledo, Ohio to drop off my Game Boy at some Nintendo repair shop.
I'm
And
here the logo. Mario with the little
Yeah, yeah,
Mario with
exactly.
the
On the
toolkit.
boxes. Yeah.
yeah, and we a week later went and picked it up, and it looked brand spanking new. I mean, I cracked the screen. I completely destroyed the screen.
That's awesome.
I can't remember what game I was playing.
I was gonna ask you what was the Rage Quit game.
I cannot remember the game that it was. I know I played a lot of Ninja Turtles on there. I know I played a lot of Mario Super Mario Land 1 and 2. I cannot remember what game that was though. For the
Probably
life.
Kirby's Pinball. It pissed me off too.
It got me too. God, I love that game.
But yeah, it's a phenomenal handheld. I mean, it was obviously Nintendo led the market from the handhelds, and what a great start they got right out the gate with the Game Boy.
No doubt. No doubt.
Lee, you have a Game Boy?
I have the Final Four.
Oh my god! It's
I
fully
actually
evolved.
used this.
Fully evolved.
Yeah, I actually
Dolby
played
0.0
like that.
surround.
Yeah, it absolutely drained batteries, man. Yeah, I love my Game Boy. Really interesting thing for me when I was little was that, of course, my parents, my dad used to make really good money when I was younger. He drove a coal truck, coal boom in Eastern Kentucky sort of stuff. And then Dad got hurt, and he got some kind of settlement. He fell and broke his back or whatever. And then it was kind of like we were on the lottery for a little bit, and I got a lot of Game Boy stuff at that point. So
yeah.
I went on a lot of trips, and they bought me a Game Boy. And big things for me were like Super Mario Land 1 and 2 and Ren and Stimpy Vidiots.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Basically, was the other one because I love Ren and Stimpy too. But yeah, that's my big thing with the Game Boy. Oh, Final Fantasy. I played the Final Fantasy games for Game Boy
Yeah.
and loved them too. So good stuff.
That big accessory on your Game Boy, what's that called? Something
Handy Boy.
Handy Boy.
Handy boy.
I could go for a Handy Boys.
I
No
had,
comment. No comment.
I had a battery pack, a rechargeable battery pack, and the magnifying glass with the backlit magnifying glass screen.
Yes.
I had that. That's what I used
I remember the little
constantly.
snake light that would bend over,
Yeah, we lived 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away from a grocery store, so it was
Long
nice.
drive.
Friday night after school, we go to Paintsville, go shopping, hit Kroger up, look at all the Nintendo Powers and the Video Game Pros, whatever, the video game magazines at Kroger. On the way home, pitch black out. I had that magnifying glass. I could play my Game Boy the whole way home in the dark, and it was awesome. It was just such a feeling.
Sometimes all you need, boys, is a 3-liter of Big K and Pokemon Red. Will, what's your Game Boy experience?
It's funny Nate mentioned that. I remember before getting the backlit screen, you'd be going through to be getting dark, and you'd be holding the Game Boy up to the street lights, hoping to catch a glimpse and be able to play it still.
Yep.
Super special for me and Nick. We're obviously we had an early developer of it. I think early on Nick and I had to share one though. We didn't have our own each. Eventually we did, and we did the whole Pokemon thing. It was amazing for brothers to be able to have one have red, one have blue, and to live that and grow up through it was amazing. Tetris, I spent way too much time playing Tetris. I loved it. It was Link's Awakening, like Nate said. It was just, I think it was just criminally underrated at the time when it came out. A lot of people didn't give it the credit it deserved because the way it looked, and you would never expect a game to be so deep on such a simple system, but it was,
Yes.
For me, I think about Link's Awakening, Donkey Kong Jr. Can't believe no one's talked about Pokemon yet.
I just did.
When did Pokemon come out, Bill?
What is it?
When did Pokemon drop? Do you remember?
96 or 95?
I think it was 96 Japan, 98 America.
Okay.
So that game came out 9 years into the Game Boy's life cycle.
Yep.
I mean, one game that completely brought a console from the fucking grave and made it so big.
Yep.
Me and Will both had Game Boys. He had red, I had blue. Got the day it came out. I remember following Nintendo Power about a game called Pocket Monsters in Japan.
Yep.
That was big shit city when it came out.
Yep.
A lot of people forget that Pokemon and Ocarina of Time were in the same year.
Yeah.
You want to talk about sales. It's kind of like the Switch this year, boys. But, God, actually, it's crazy to think about. But no, it's unbelievable. God, I loved it. In the plugging the cable in wheel, trading Pokemon on the road.
Yeah.
Like
It
Vermont.
seemed like magic when you're a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
oh, yeah.
how you could like it almost like in my mind, like I could see my little like Pokemon going through that wire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
see Wreck-It Ralph, kind of how they go through the wires. That's how I thought back then. You know?
So what we was talking about, Gen 1 Pokemon Will had 4 trade evolution Pokemon. Can you name them?
Oh gosh, Nick, you're gonna call me out like that. Let's see if I can remember them all. The Abracadabra Alakazam was one, wasn't it?
My favorite one.
Okay. Gengar.
It was Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar. That's 2.
That's 2. The Graveler was one, wasn't it?
The Golem. That's 3.
3. And which one am I not thinking of now, guys?
The creepiest one you could wake up with wrapped in your arms in bed.
Mr. Mime.
Machamp.
That's right. I knew that.
And I think of the guys, obviously there's revisions to the console, the pocket and the color. They're awesome. Let's go and go straight to the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, Nick, care if I tell a quick story before you?
Oh God, bring it on.
Man, something I thought about was the Game Boy is certainly a turning point for me. At that point when Pokemon Red came out, there was like this thing in my group of friends that there started to be a divide. Like my childhood friends that I hung out with all the time. I remember very specifically, like we started riding 4-wheelers a lot. We'd go up in the hills and hang out, but I would take a Game Boy with me. Yeah, I never. So they would hang out, and do stuff up there. The big thing for them was that they started like smoking and getting into stuff that was wrong to do for me,
Yep.
And
you can do that with a Game Boy in your hand. What the hell,
well, yeah,
that age.
while they were smoking and doing things they shouldn't be doing, I was playing Pokemon. So it was like I went into I started focusing more on video games, that sort of stuff, things that I knew to be okay, rather than go towards drugs. So it has I have a special place in my heart because I managed to avoid that mess because of stuff like that.
I got
positive reinforcement.
I got an awesome counter story to that. So going to Vermont to my older brother's wedding, and we were big wrestling fans at the time.
Bad marriage.
And Staple from WWE, her Playboy just came out.
That's right.
Our mom went to the gas station and bought it for us. So we were looking at that while playing Pokemon on the way to Vermont.
Yes. Think about that. Me and Nick being that age, how incredible that was.
I'm like a junior and sophomore in high school. I remember our grandma looked at it. She's like, I don't see why y'all think she's so good looking and all this. Anyways.
I can see her tits though, Mama.
So then in 2001, 12 years after the Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance came out. And we're going to go ahead and jump to the SP. Because the SP is the first portable console to have a backlit screen and rechargeable batteries.
Yeah.
So we all agree that's incredible. So Game Boy Advance SP. Nate, Advance, what was it like for you?
It was, I got it for either my birthday. Was it my birthday or Christmas Day? I think it was Christmas actually. It took the Game Boy to the next level. I mean, it was exactly what I needed it to be. No more bulky, big fat battery pack for the Game Boy Brick, and no more magnifying glass with a backlit. It was all there. I don't know. It was incredible. It's another great addition. The library was fantastic. I loved it. I've got 2 or 3 of them now. It's just a phenomenal console. I mean, I think of Minish Cap right off the bat. I think of Metroid. Both Metroid games right off the bat. Those really, really good games. I've got quite a bit of those still boxed as well. Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 6. I think wasn't even 5, was 5? I can't remember if 5 was released on the Game Boy Advance or not, but
I think it was, yeah.
If it wasn't, I'm sure it got hacked on there.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's actually a funny, cool thing about, I guess, the GBA version of the Final Fantasy 6 is they fixed a lot of the text in that. So the text in the Game Boy Advance version of Final Fantasy 6 is different from the Final Fantasy 3 SNES version. So it's a kind of a different experience when you go through it. So it gives you a reason to replay it.
That's awesome.
Lee, you have a Game Boy Advance?
Yes, I do. It's somewhere around here. Oh, it's over there. It's a blue one. I use the SP. I got rid of my old one because the weird flat one or whatever.
The OG.
The OG, I got rid of that one. I just had no use for it after the SP came out. So big thing for me was like I remember thinking, does this hurt companies because like battery companies? Because I was just blown away by charging my system. That's so cool.
Yeah, good point. That's a great point.
That's
I don't know how many how many times did I have to go and like steal batteries from my dad's remote or something? You know,
I must have been
Definitely.
with when I had the rechargeable battery pack on my brick.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's
I was
awesome.
spoiled.
The
Right.
I remember thinking this is like a portable Super Nintendo, and it
That's
is
what I was gonna
absolutely
say.
magic.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
Will,
that-
Breath of Fire,
Loved
Breath of
it.
Fire 2. Oh man.
so you talking about it? What about Game Boy Advance?
Well, no, it's actually just what Lee said. In my mind, it was almost like 16-bit was on the go now.
Yeah.
We're able to take Super Nintendo with us. That's exactly how I remember the Advance. And one big elephant in the room, Mother 3. Mother 3 came out in the Advance. We all know the history there. We won't get into that here on this show. That's a story for another day. We'll
What?
talk about.
Give us Reggie 3 or give us Mother 3, Reggie.
Yeah.
But I think Lee nailed it. I think that's when you felt like Super Nintendo was actually portable now. You get the Pokemon remakes, you get the Fire Red, you get the Leaf Green. They got to bring that out, kind of a nice little touch there. It was just a total different game playing those games 16-bit with color. That's my fond memories of it.
Yeah, and it was the first time too that they, if I'm not mistaken, that they re-released the classics on the NES for the Game Boy
Black
Advance.
labels. It was the
That's
black
right.
labels.
That's
Yeah.
right, Nate.
Yeah, so that and the Mario Advance games were incredible ports of Mario 2, Mario 3, Super Mario World.
Good point.
So Nate,
The first time I beat Zelda was actually on Game Boy Advance, the
Oh
classic one.
really? That's
Oh,
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, it's good.
But that's earning it too, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Damn
it
right.
was-
So you guys are big time Zelda fans. And I already know we also asked Nate and Lee, are you hardcore enough that you own Zelda 2 on Game Boy Advance? Because they did do a classic re-release of it.
I don't own that, but I got the original, so
That
Yeah,
Link's
I have-
Awakening came, or not, no, it was Link's Adventure.
Link's
Was it
Adventure.
on-
I have
it
both.
was on Game Boy Advance. I remember that.
It was. It was. It had black.
That's
It had
one-
black label. Yeah.
Black,
it's one of my
I
top
own both,
games.
Yeah.
So I really like
some-
that game.
Something you guys just started turning about a lot with the 16-bit stuff, and Nate talking about SNES, so as well. And looking for the competitive stance, the Game Boy went against the Game Gear. Game Gear was in color. Game Boy whipped its ass. As you guys aren't dummies, you know, the Sega Nomad was the next console Sega put out, which literally played Genesis cartridges.
That was
Yeah.
an incredible console, though. I mean,
It was. It really
Just
was.
It
yeah.
was incredible,
Oh,
boys.
yeah.
Forward think. When you talk about forward thinking, they had.
Yes,
To me,
they
that
had
is the
it. They
most
had
forward
that.
thinking.
That was the Switch before the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, boys? I agree with you. They were forward thinking, but they did not have the Nintendo innovation. The Game Boy Advance SP could also play 16-bit games, and I could
Yeah.
fold that bitch up and put it in my fucking
That's
pocket.
right.
You're right.
Yeah.
And the Nomad is notorious for the worst battery eaters of any of them.
Yeah.
But I
And
mean, like,
I have two of them.
but it is a portable, Genesis, so it's to be expected. So Game Boy Micro came out real late in the console cycle, and that's just, this time we know what it is. It's a Game Boy Advance. Originally I did the OG Advance, and I got the Silver SP because it launched with a big release. And anybody know what games launched the Advance SP?
Metroid Pinball. I
Yes.
don't remember.
The day I got Pokemon Sapphire I knew it's just like Switch this year. Your people buying Sword and Shield because they can only play on a Switch. I got SB because the only way I was playing the new Pokemon Sapphire is what I went with.
Cool.
But a great console. So then let's see here. Wow, I didn't realize this. From Advance to DS was only 4 years.
Oh
Did-
wow. Really?
I know that either.
God, shocking.
Right.
Advance is 2001. DSP is 2003. The Micro's 05. The Micro, I do remember this, though. The Micro launched alongside with another console, the OG Fat Boy Nintendo DS. Now, the DS, the very next year, the DS Lite came out. And I think, we think, and forget the DS side has a camera, but DS Lite, DS is what we're thinking here.
Yeah.
We'll go, Will, DS, what's up?
Okay, the clamshell design right off the bat, right? We go to the clamshell design, and I just love the clamshell design. I kind of wish the Switch
Check that
had
screen.
some kind of form of that. I love the dual screen.
Screen protection.
Loved it.
protection.
I just thought that was an amazing console. Honestly, I think the DS is probably the most underrated Nintendo system. Period. It's what it set up and spawned later on because some of the games that came out to it. Think about Mario 64 coming back to the DS. They could do anything then. You know what I mean? Like at the time, like that was the N64 on the go. If you think about it in a way,
Dual screen, touch screen,
Yep.
backwards compatible with Game Boy Advance.
Unbelievable. Heads off. I mean, think about that. Really, at the time,
It's pretty good, yeah.
It is. It's pretty good. And it says it's 4 years into it. That makes sense why it had backwards compatibility, right? I didn't realize that at the time.
I say you boys don't know this one. What game launched the DS Lite?
I don't know.
New Super Mario Bros. The reason I bought a DS Lite.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
You could blow in a microphone and do things. The DS was special.
Zelda
Two
games you could
screens.
do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Did you, Nate, lead you guys on DS?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I've got
Several.
Yeah. I've got a DS Lite, a regular DS, and I think two DS Lites actually, because I got to have something to play my GBA games on that's a little bit more wider than the SP. So
Let's start with this, boys. If you count the Game Boy Advance library and all the DS library, that's a portable RPG machine.
Oh, baby.
Chrono Trigger's on there. Final Fantasy's out the ass, counting Crystal Chronicles as well.
Yes.
Woo, on all the Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, it's all on there.
The first time Nintendo took Mario Kart online.
Oh.
Wow, yeah.
The free Nintendo online service.
Oh, well, good
Simply
call.
Mario Kart DS. Remember that one? That was a great game.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
But I think we're all wanting to slide over to the big boy, the 3DS. 5 years later, the 3DS comes out. Lee, you ever buy a 3DS?
Yeah, I've had several of those too, man. It's a pretty awesome system, and I think that solidifies the whole idea that you don't have to have the graphics to have the good games. Because we had the PS Vita at the same time. My God, the PS Vita is so much more powerful.
Oh God,
It's not even close.
But it's not even. It's what a rat race, man. Like the 3DS smoked it.
Any 3DS games, Lee, you would call your favorites?
Ooh. Go ahead, guys. I'll find me something here, and I'll get back to
Okay.
you.
Will,
Nick,
I know
I'm
you're a
gonna
3DS guy.
I want to talk about the 3DS for a second, guys. I had like a lull in my gaming life for like 5-8 years there. Chasing women, doing my thing, and the 3DS. That's the console that brought me back. That made me a gamer again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It did. Ocarina of Time, that game coming back, Animal Crossing, the Mario Golf, like I talked about earlier. Some of these 3DS, Majora's Mask, Link Between Worlds. We go on and on with these games, and it did. It brought me back to being a gamer. When Link Between Worlds launched, it had that special edition with the low rule and high rule Triforces on both of them. That 3DS system.
Man.
I think that was just a beautiful design, and I just super special for me. The 3DS is, especially the XL.
Nate, you have a 3DS?
Oh yeah. They suckered me out of a bunch of those as well.
I bought 4, I think.
The new 3DS and with the 3DS, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I have one quirk. I've got one little qualm with them, and then otherwise the library of games is absolutely stellar. It's incredible. The library of games is so good on the 3DS. I think
Fast.
handheld wise, oh my gosh, the Mario, Super Mario, the new Super Mario's Mario Land 3D. Oh my word, there's all the RPGs,
Kirby games, Kid Icarus. I mean, go on and on. Star Fox.
So good. The one problem I have with the 3DS and the new 3DS is kind of like what Lee was saying, is it not so powerful. I know it had the capability of being powerful just because the Citra emulator runs the same games at a much higher quality. It runs it in full HD, and it's the same game, and it looks just spectacular. Now I know they could have done that in a handheld mode, and it either couldn't have been much more expensive to do so. I just wish they would have went full HD with it. That's my only problem with it. I didn't really care at the time because the games were so good, but after seeing it on the Citra emulator, it's just kind of like, man, why didn't they do this?
I think they sacrificed it for the 3D effect. This is maybe my guess. I would have rather had that. I would rather had high def.
Did any of you ever play any games in 3D?
Half after the novelty wore off, I never did it.
Yep, exactly.
I didn't either.
I turned it up and go, well, that looks neat, and I turn it right back off.
And then not even including the not talking about the regular 3DS library, but then the online library, the indie games, the virtual consoles. I mean, it's just endless.
Oh, remember the Super Nintendo games they brought to the new 3DS? They had Link to the Past, Earthbound was on there, Mario RPG. It was sick. Yeah, it really was.
All right, I'm gonna go ham on this motherfucker.
Hear it.
If I had a day to play in it, I would argue the 3DS's library against any Nintendo console in history.
I agree.
It's that good. It's that deep. Nate's absolutely right. I think it ran at 360 or 480. The screens did. Nowhere close to 1080. Which is crazy because the Switch only runs Zelda at 900. I mean, it's crazy how much Nintendo's held back on that. So the OG 3DS launches at 250. The early people loved it. They priced it way too high. It failed miserably. Dropped to 169. Ambassador program. Rest is history. To me, old N64 games are hard to play. Ocarina of Time, those games, low ass frame rate makes it so difficult to play for me personally. Ocarina of Time 3D on 3DS has kept that game, to me, relevant for a younger generation who still continues to play that game. The Nintendo Classic for $20 a kid can play Ocarina of Time and shit their pants. Our little sister will. She played it for her first time ever, hundreds of hours. Would never beat Ganon because she did not want it to end.
She didn't want the end.
Never
Hey,
did
Nick,
it.
do you remember getting your first 3DS?
Oh, boys, I was down on my luck. I worked at Lowe's. I broke my back. It was a horrible workers' comp nightmare. And we were huge GameCube Animal Crossing fans. That's a whole nother story. That shit went down. But him and Mom went shopping one day and come home. Boom! It was a red 3DS with Animal Crossing New Leaf. Oh my God! Woo! But Majora's Mask didn't really play it 64. Played it, got to actually understand and enjoy the experience on the 3DS.
Same.
Animal Crossing New Leaf made me an Animal Crossing fan. Fire Emblem Awakening made me a Fire Emblem fan. Brought a whole new generation to experience Earthbound for the first time. The first true, legit, 100% correct ports of Super Nintendo titles. The first time I ever played Super Metroid was on there. Revisit classics like Star Fox 3D. Or 64, I'm sorry. But it's like, Star Fox don't mean shit anymore. But that one game, at least to me, at least it had its beacon, for a second. You could enjoy it again.
Yeah.
That dude, how many games? Mario Kart 7.
Yeah, great game.
Holy shit, it rules. Boys, there's a full fucking fledged Smash Brothers on the 3DS that is fucking flawless. Will, I heard you like that game called Mario Golf on 3DS.
Yeah, I like it real well.
I could go on for days about how deep that motherfucker is. And the Virtual Console, dude, fucking Netflix and YouTube's on the son of a bitch, man.
Yeah.
It's a kid's dream machine. That system is stacked. It's pure fucking go, baby. Put a ribbon on that motherfucker. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Oh, did anybody say Link Between Worlds?
Yeah.
We'll talk about Link's Between Worlds.
That's what's funny. That's one of the games I sometimes play in 3D, so you can kind of see where you're falling on the game. That's the.
All right, boys, let's do this. How many Zelda games are available on the 3DS?
Gosh.
Zelda 1 and 2 through NES Virtual Console. Link to the Past is on there. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Minish Cap if you're an ambassador member.
And Link Between
That's the only way
Worlds.
you could get that one. There's almost 10 Zelda titles you can play on 3DS.
Wow.
It may be more than any Nintendo console in history.
That's eye-opening.
Four Swords is given away for free on the motherfucker.
Yeah.
It was.
Boys,
Oh,
you
Nick,
gotta stop me. I
don't
wanna go
forget
crazy.
about Triforce Heroes, Hyrule Warriors. They were both on the 3DS.
Will, we don't utter the word
I
Triforce Heroes on this channel.
I know it. I know. But it's on there.
I want to apologize to your viewers for remember the time they played that game. No Mario Sports title, no, they played Mario Hoops 3-on-3 was awesome on there.
It was.
God, I'm just no, that may have been DS. Was 3DS? I don't know. Regardless, I'm a huge 3DS fan. I think it's such a good system. We even talk about the Pokemon games too if you're into that. So.
Oh, Nick, Kid Icarus, Bravely Default, Bravely
Bravely
Second.
Default. Yeah.
Final Fantasy Explorers, Monster Hunter, boys, we can start dancing.
Yeah,
That system, it got something for everybody. God, it's so stacked.
it
I'm
is.
just trying to think of Nintendo friends. Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Oh, good point, Nick. Yep.
Oh my God. And then the last Metroid game came out on the 3DS.
Yeah. Same
Samus Returns.
as Returns.
God, boy, I'm just gonna go ham on this thing, dude. And the Japanese Virtual Console had Mother 3 cocksuckers.
Yeah, they did. On my birthday, guys. I remember seeing Mother 3's coming out. I'm like, oh, Japan's coming out December 19th. I'm like, oh, come on, USA, you can do it. Fuck no.
All right, boys. Before we make our decisions on our favorite one, does anybody have anything they want? Final words on anything they've thought about they want to talk about before we go?
Well, let's say the Switch is going to kill this topic one day.
This list does not include the Switch or the Virtual Boy or Triforce Heroes or FIFA fans. Bitch, Will. Fuck.
I do have. There's one thing I do want to make mention as for the Game Boy, original Game Boy. That is the RPG that I put a ton of time. I've replayed this probably.
Great Greed.
Great Greed, probably 10 times.
You're the only person I've ever talked to in my life that knew what that game was.
Probably played it 10 times. Every enemy, every person in the game was named after some sort of food. You beat the game, you get to choose who you get to marry. You can marry between four or five different women. You get one that's a warrior. You can marry somebody who's like 68 years old or 70 years old.
Sure, it wasn't 69, Nate.
Yeah, it could have been 69. You can marry an 18-year-old and you can marry a 14-year-old. And they give you that option to pick whoever you want. If you select the old lady, they're like, "Are you sure she's old? She's old. Are you sure you want to marry her?" And if you pick the 14-year-old, they're like, "Are you sure she's really young? She's only 14." And you're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, you can pick whoever you want." So,
God.
Guys, not only hey Nate, what's your Twitter handle again? So not only does Nate hate FIFA, I'm not even there yet. He wants his last word he wanted to get in was a game whose marriage mechanic is so Stone Age and only allows for heterosexual marriage, and he actually knows what happens if you marry the 14-year-old girl. I'm playing. The real Nate, what's funny is I read on a forum that had an exact description like you said, like it's all food, blah, blah, blah. I bought that game off eBay, like in the OG days of eBay. It was like a hard game to get. I'm not sure if it's value now. Do you still have it?
I still have it, yeah. I have it right behind me.
That game's bizarre. If you look at the game stuff, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Really?
It's crazy. I love that game, but Nate's the only person I've heard ever talk about it.
Yeah,
but
it's fun.
don't be afraid to hit Twitter real quick. Anyways, Lee,
not that I'm for it. I'm just saying it's there. And let's remember, I played this game way before I was an adult. I mean, I picked the 14-year-old when I was like 12 or 14.
Okay, that's fair.
I ain't gonna lie. I used to kind of get well, when I was a kid, it was a funny feeling whenever I chose to marry her. You know.
You get a little tinkle in your body. Kind of like when you go down the hill when you're a kid, like, whoa.
I think we call those nocturnal emissions.
I call those wet mares.
It's a Peter Tingle. It's a Peter Tingle.
Peter Tingle. All right. Now I'm going to go to each person, and they're going to tell us which Nintendo handheld is their favorite of all time. You can get specific about model. It doesn't. I mean, if it's Game Boy Advance, it could be any of those models. You can give me a favorite skin as well that had a skin option. Lee, what's your favorite Nintendo handheld console of all time?
All right, man. I gotta say, you've made me a believer. You've made me a believer today.
Yeah.
I came in talking about the Game Boy Advance. I was going to say Game Boy Advance SP, but I got to thinking about it. I think I want to say the 3DS, and here's why. I have a lot of memories of the 3DS that I just hadn't considered. Like
it's still recent.
It's so recent.
You know?
I agree.
And Will had said, it made him a gamer again, and that's pretty much about where I was with it.
I love it.
So I played I collected Fire Emblem games, whatever. I was just like, I'll grab whatever I can. I had never really played one until I played Awakening, and that made me a believer in that series. It's glorious. You're talking about games I have, and there's this one. I know it's weird.
Adventure Time, yes.
Yeah, nobody cares about Adventure Time, but it's like Zelda 2 is what that game is, basically. And I played it the night of my... I'm trying not to get emotional here. Played it the night of my first daughter's birth.
Oh, dude, how cool is that story?
Yeah. So, like, when I was sitting in the hospital with her, after she was born, my wife was asleep, she was asleep or whatever, and I stayed up. I sat and played Adventure Time. So I associate that with my daughter, and she knows the theme song, she sings it, it's beautiful.
God, that's so cool.
So before that, even my wife, back when we first got together, we were making it. We've always made it, but we were both working we weren't making the kind of money we are now. Like we weren't as comfortable as we were, and I couldn't afford a 3DS, and she bought me a 3DS for Christmas, and I remember being blown away by the fact that she sacrificed so much to get that for me. And that it was beautiful. And then also, my wife. For Valentine's Day, I ended up getting her 3DS too eventually.
Yep. And
then for Valentine's Day, she came home and I had 2 copies of Animal Crossing and some roses, and that's what we did for Valentine's Day. So
that's awesome.
A lot of good memories with my family with the 3DS. So I'm gonna say 3DS, man. Thank you for making me a believer.
I love it. Will, what's your favorite?
It's 3DS, and it's probably obvious.
This is a game debate, guys.
Sorry.
Hey, man, I just want you to know, man, I had the chills all over. It's hard to follow that up. It's very similar in my family. My son, when he was young, coming up, he had a 3DS, and by the time I got my wife into being a gamer too, is playing the 3DS. Animal Crossing was it for us. We lived in the same town. I let her be the mayor, and I remember I feel like I was sacrificing a lot there. I was giving. I wanted to be the mayor too, But
that's a good point.
No, it's it's to me it's super special, and I remember being really burnt by the Wii, guys. That was kind of a last straw for me. For Nintendo, it really upset me, and I got the 3DS again. It gave me that feeling again. I felt like Nintendo was back, and It set off everything for me now to where I am now. Now I'm back to being a game probably 3 or 4 nights a week at least now. And before that, nothing. So incredible. 3DS.
Hey, what you gonna keep the wheel rolling? You gonna throw a curveball?
Yeah, no. It's going 3DS, and then
Yes.
it's very clear for me. I mean, I can be all nostalgic about the Game Boy and everything, but it's just the library of games for the 3DS. It was the first, I guess even console. I guess I'll call it a console that Anna has played. She never was much of a gamer, but she got into it. She wanted me to get her the new 3DS, the Zelda one.
Oh,
No, I had to get her the Zelda one. She's a Zelda fan, so I had to get her that special edition one. So, and she's got it, and it's in immaculate condition. I mean, it's perfect.
Are you talking about the Majora's Mask one?
The Majora's Mask one, yeah.
Oh, that was the one.
I had it as well.
Yeah, so it's one of the first games that we played together was on the 3DS. I can play a DS games on it. I've got my library for DS games is huge already, so I can go back and play all those games on it. I can play all my 3DS games on it.
The virtual console games.
All the virtual console. It's just got everything in one. It's just very clear for me. It's a great console. I mean, it's the handheld was topped right there until the Switch. I mean.
All right, boys. I'm gonna take it home here. I'm picking 3DS. I'm gonna be very quick here. What I'm gonna say, don't let me daunting. It's gonna be quick. I'm gonna give you right now, if anybody wants to argue this, about 50 fucking reasons the 3DS is king. You all ready?
Let's hear them.
Mario Kart 7, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Super Mario 3D Land, Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Fates. And the third Fire Emblem, the remake of the NES one, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and most recently the remake of Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon X, Pokemon Y, Super Mario Bros. 2, Bravely Default, Bravely Second, Metroid: Samus Returns, Shovel Knight, Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Kid Icarus, Pokemon Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Mario and Luigi, there's about 3 of them, Kirby Triple Deluxe, Push Mode, Tamagotchi Life, Monster Hunter 4, Shin Megami Tensei 4, Persona Q, Monster Hunter Generation, Star Fox 64, Fantasy Life, that game ruled, all the Professor Layton games, Super Smash Brothers, Pokemon X, Box Boy, Mario Golf World Tour, Fire Emblem Echoes. Don't even keep going, or have I done enough? I'm not even close to being done. Mario Maker's on there. I could keep going, guys.
Oh, Mario Maker.
Yeah, Mario Maker. Yeah.
About that.
Wow.
Jeez, Pete.
I forget how
it's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, Anna played a lot of the Professor Laytons. We played that together a lot. So that's a lot. Yeah. So it's so good. And like Will was saying, it was during the time of the Wii and the Wii U. I didn't even play much consoles at the time. I was just playing my 3DS all the time. It's incredible.
There are also several Kingdom Hearts games. Xenoblade Chronicles is on there. I mean, dude.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Xenoblade. Wow, that was the new
one. We all went on just a second ago about all the virtual console content. It's overwhelming how much is on there, dudes. So that's a good little list of reasons why that library is insane. For anyone like this hard up on money, needs a console or system, you could go on Facebook Marketplace, get a 2DS XL for about $100, $10-$20 masterpieces everywhere. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. So I know we're boring. We all said the 3DS, but I mean, it is what it is. It's the best.
Funny, when you said the format you were going to do, talking about all of them by release date, in my mind, I was thinking that's because we're probably all going to pick the 3DS. Whenever you asked me that initially, it's like, it's the 3DS for sure. But after talking about it is even more for sure.
Right.
One last fun one to go out on. We'll start with you, Will. Your favorite 3DS skin, as in released print on the system. There are many, and a lot of people forget the new 3DS, not the XL, had interchangeable plates.
There's two. Okay. My number one is the Link Between Worlds. I told you all earlier, had the Triforce High Roll and Low Roll
on the back.
That's my number one.
That is good.
But my number two, I loved it, I never had it, was the Animal Crossing one with all the little flowers.
The white one. It was only bundled.
Early. I thought it was excellent.
Say it here first, Will. The Switch Lite will release with Animal Crossing skin.
I agree with you.
Say it my life.
I'm planning on it, man. That's why I'm ready to pre-order it.
Amen, son. Nate, favorite 3DS skin.
I really like the Majora's Mask,
Beautiful.
but this is my baby right here.
Oh, he has one of the interchangeable plate ones, like I was
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about. That's awesome. That's gonna be a low run one right there. Like I can't believe there's many of those.
Oh yes, I love that one. Hey, I mean, I can put Zelda plate. I mean, you can see
Yeah, they got the plates.
right here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
for
it's
that
not in focus, but that's another plate, and it has like all the Nintendo IPs on it, and it's got Link holding the Triforce right in the middle of it. So it's
Lee, is
incredible.
there any 3DS skin that's your baby?
Yeah, one I don't own is the Great White Whale, man. I want that the Majora's Mask one actually. It's next.
yeah.
That's
So
cool.
I had
Guys, I
just
bought
bought
that for
the,
200, had it for 2 years, and I sold it for 300. It
Yep.
was crazy, and I could have got more, I think, if I would have held out.
Check this out, Will. I bought 2 of them. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I bought 6 of them. Not lying.
I would have too. I would
I
have too.
bought 6 of them. I got really, really lucky. I went to GameStop at the time the UPS man ran and dropped them off. I bought every single one, and I have Ron Middleton to thank for that because he sold me 4 of them that day.
He
I bought
loves
every one.
FIFA.
Yeah. But anyways, I sold them all for Christmas presents to
That's
people.
smart.
But mine, get this, Will. I bricked mine. I bricked my Majora's Mask 3DS. Bricked it. It still sold for $175.
Oh, you're kidding
It
me.
did not work at all.
There you go. There you
Still
go.
sold it on eBay for $175.
That's nuts, man.
And
Boys,
then it
I
still
remember
has
like getting my use out of it. I was trying to buy, guys, I had to buy 3 Switches when they came out, right? You know what I'm saying? So I had to sell some of my
Right.
shit. But that's
understand.
one of the ones I sold. I bought a Switch with my Majora's Mask 3DS XL.
yeah.
Insane, you know?
Which is why Lee calls it the White Whale. Mine, you will definitely remember, is a classic, one of the first 3DS skins of all. The original 3DS, solid black, Ocarina of Time edition.
Yeah,
Had
I love
the gold lining in
the
the corner.
trim. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds you of the Wind
Yeah.
Waker one with the Wii U.
Classy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, here's one a lot of people don't talk about because it came out recently. So on Zelda 3, we're talking about Zelda skins. Zelda 3DS, we talked about Majora's Mask. We talked about the Link Between Worlds. There's actually a third one, a more recent one. And they call it, I think, what's it called here? I gotta pull it up. It's the Hyrule Warriors edition.
Hyrule Warriors.
Oh, that's
It's,
right.
it's a
That's
very
beautiful.
huge metal ass tribe. You know,
Yeah,
healing
it's
effect.
awesome. I forgot about that.
It was a lot
Yeah.
more achievable. You actually, I mean, it wasn't hard to get because everybody wanted the fucking Majora's Mask one at that time. So, oh man, speaking, you know what? I got something here too. Have y'all ever seen the Game Boy Advance SP Zelda edition with the Triforce on it? That one.
Yes.
Yes.
The little SP's got a lot of special editions too, man. It's
It
shocking.
has.
The Game Boy
NES one?
Advance. The Game Boy Advance special editions were actually quite collectible. There's several of them that
Yeah.
were highly
Yes.
collectible. The Game Boy Advance SP that looked like the NES, that's highly collectible. A lot of
Yes.
people love that one.
I
Isn't there
remember
a
a
lot
Mother
of-
3? Is there a Mother 3 one? in Japan
Micro.
only?
Micro.
It's a micro. That's right.
That's like a $500 eBay item.
and it's
That's-
tiny, man. It's tiny.
Well, boys, I think we've said it best we can. 3DS, king of Nintendo portables.
Yep.
For Lee, for Nate, for Will, for Nick. See you next week.
Do it.